Hello everybody, Andy here, and of course, if you're watching this, you've undoubtedly already seen it, but GW has announced in their live reveal stream from Dallas, I think, Dallas Open, the Warhammer name for the next Age of Sigmar, the 4th edition launch, and it's Skaventide. That makes sense. There's Skaven. They have a thing where there's like a tie to them. Fine. Cool. Basically, this video is just going to be me saying, hey, look at these cool contents of a box. Isn't that cool? And also explain to you what's actually in there. They also did a live stream, which I watched the whole of, not live though, of a celebrity Spearhead match, which was two wrestlers who I've never heard of before, but fine, I guess people like wrestlers, where we kind of got to see a game of Spearhead play out for the first time. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. That's actually going to be my next video, because I have quite a lot to say about Spearhead, because it's kind of, it's basically a skirmish game, and that's kind of my thing. So I thought, you know what, I'll actually say some things there. This is not that video. This is a, hey, look at the cool models, and saying what I think about things, which is a novelty. So yes, this is just purely me having some fun, being excited for Age of Sigmar 4, looking at some cool stuff. Now, of course, before we get started, I would like to say that if you're a subscriber to my channel, this is a subscriber-only benefit, and that is a big double hello. Wow, wasn't that incredibly wholesome? What is a double hello? It's just a pleasantry that's given to you twice. So if you want that in the next video, like, subscribe, leave a comment right now. Okay, let's go. So, there's a total of, what is it, like 75 miniatures? 74 miniatures? Now, I wasn't really going to talk about this, but there was something that really captured my interest, and that is that Skaventide is okay. I already know what I've titled this video and made the thumbnail for. It is Games Workshop Actually Tried. Now, why would I say that? That's weird. Surely Games Workshop always tries. No, they don't try. Games Workshop is cucking you hard every time you buy 40k. Do you know why? Because 40k is a steamroller. They can put out a steaming roll, you know, and like, you'll just buy it. They don't need to try. In fact, they sell out of everything. They genuinely don't want to try. They probably want fewer customers, frankly. So, they don't try at all. That's fine. Like, you know, it's a cool IP setting, etc., etc. Fine. However, Age of Sigmar, that don't sell out. Now, yes, it is still one of the best-selling tabletop miniature games in the world, but compared to 40k, it's not. And you got to ask, what can Games Workshop, the company that does it all, thanks to 40k, do to kind of get people playing Sigmar? A couple of things. Firstly, actually try. Cool, I think they might have begun doing that, and that's really interesting. And that's because if we compare the Leviathan box to this box, I think this box is distinctly different. First things first, cost. The Leviathan was £150. I think that was 200 USD. Right, about that? No, I don't know the USD. I don't know the all about that. However, we've had Skaventide confirmed as £160. That's £10 more. It's been a year. You know what? Inflation might have gone up that much. I really don't know anymore. That might actually just be in line with inflation. However, this is definitely more expensive. I'm actually really surprised by that. I would have expected, in general, if we look back at Age of Sigmar and compared to 40k, in general, Age of Sigmar has been the same price, but you get something a little bit more. Maybe not in the cost of the miniatures, but in the cost of the external media that they're putting in there as well. But also, let's be honest, the miniatures look amazing. So, and frankly, they put more effort into the miniatures in Sigmar than they do in 40k, but that's a whole other just topic, right? And like personal preference, etc. But just, you know, I always say the same example of the General's Handbook from Sigmar always looked beautiful. It was an item that you wanted to own, whereas the, what was it called? Manufactorum bollocks for chapter approved for 40k was something you just go onto Wikipedia for. Why would you ever own that terrible piece of physical media? You would immediately throw it in the bin. Whereas GHB, you wanted to have it, right? Cool. Okay, so here we see the two teams. This is exactly what we expected. They have just redone the original Age of Sigmar box on the Stormcast Eternal side, but updated the sculpts. And then they've given us a bit of a range refresh for Skaven. We know that more are coming as well, so that's cool. A little bit mad, 40 clan rats. Have fun with that, I guess. Fine, clearly that was needed. And then 10 other things. So you get 50 models total for the Skaven, 24 for the Stormcast. Fine. But you get terrain. Now, for whatever reason, that really speaks to me, the fact that you get terrain. I like it. I know that you will get terrain in the starter box, whatever that ends up being. I imagine it will be this, which then means we're going to get a lot of these 2 walls and 2 little statues, but that's a separate issue. And also on top of that, we get 2 full rule sets, as opposed to 40k, which had 1 rule set, and then kind of like a quarter of a rule set on top. Now, I actually have a lot of thoughts about Spearhead. Again, not going to get into them too much here. I just want to point out that at the very least, whether you like or dislike Spearhead, whether you're going to play it or not, or you're already all balls deep in Sigmar, so you don't need to come over to the smaller version, you're just going to play it. I would probably say it looks like they've put a lot more effort into Spearhead. Whether it turns out to be good or not, effort seems to be there. They've done a really interesting thing with it. Anyway, let's keep going. I'm impressed with what they're putting in the box. 2 full rule sets, terrain, 2... they've said that both armies total... Well, they said exactly, but I assume around 1,200 points. That means you get these, and then you get, like, either your combat patrol, but probably not for these, or just some cool, fun units. You're done. That's your army. Which is also actually a very good way to kind of guesstimate how big armies are going to be in Sigmar. I mean, what's this going to be? So Stormcast is going to be 24 models, plus let's say another squad of 10, so it's 34, and then let's say 6 cool dudes. There you go, whether that's a unit of 3 and then some heroes. So if Stormcast Eternals are the elite faction, and they're 40 models at 2,000 points, you can then kind of figure things out from there about how other factions are going to play. Likewise for the Skaven, literally double the number of models. So they're going to be 100 models, we can assume, at 2,000 points. That's mad. The reason for that is clan rats. They're insane. They cost like 1 point each. They're stupid. I like the terrain. The terrain seems very cool. The reason that terrain is in there, again, not getting into Spearhead, the reason that terrain is there is because the way they've written Spearhead is the terrain matters in the sense of... Don't get into it. The terrain doesn't matter from a gameplay perspective. It won't change who can attack, as we think of in skirmish games. For the next video, but they can be used as objectives, essentially. There you go. Cool. Then we get to look at some cool models. The Lord Vigilant on Gryffstalker. Now, these Gryffs, they've had to redo them, right? You can't just have Gryffhounds now. They're not just going to redo them because the Gryffhounds look totally fine. Instead, we now have, what were they called? Gryff Crows? Yeah. So they're crow-based. Love a good crow. Maybe we'll have some fight milk from the next guys. That's what they're all drinking. Then mana potion? No, fight milk. Cool. Looks fine. Or does it? I'm going to be honest. In my opinion, that Gryffstalker doesn't have quite the same gangsterness as like a Dracoline. I agree that the Dracoline was a very chunky model, but it's a dragon, and that's inherently cool. Whereas this is not quite that, which is fine. Whatever, I'm not complaining. Lord Terminos is one of the... Are they called Reclusiants? Where have I pulled that name from? I don't know. Lord Veritant. This is a cool model. Really like this guy. Or girl, sorry. Mainly because you got the World of Warcraft style Demon Hunter eye covering. I like that. Night Questor. I think that's a great pose. Really like that guy as well. Yeah, okay, Reclusians. So these guys are replacing from the original box, not Annihilators. I think they were called Paladins. They might be Annihilators though, can't recall. I like these guys. Anytime you have a fully armored dude, heavily armored guy with a cloak, or just a lot of cloth, it's really my vibe. They've gone real 40k with the little dudes that are standing next to them. Not so into them, to be honest. From a lore perspective, I get why they're there, actually. That's cool. Like, these guys are almost at the end of their Stormcast life. They are almost automata. And so they no longer remember things as they're being reforged again and again. And so you have some actual just normal dudes hanging out like, hey man, this is what happened last time you were alive. But then you died, lol. I don't know how they're escaping. They're in the middle of the battle as well. Stormcast tend to do suicide missions because they could die and come back. So how are the humans escaping? I assume that gets answered. It definitely won't though. Prosecutors, these are cool. I'm going to be honest, they have a little bit less flair for me than the original prosecutors. But there you go. Whatever. It's fine. They're still going to look awesome. Liberators are just a nice redo. Cool. Odd as it might sound, I actually prefer the spear guys from Dominion, but these are fine. Cool. The Skaven. Clawlord on Norbeast. They've done a Warhammer, haven't they? So it's a rat riding a rat. Everybody loves that. Everyone loves a double rat. So when I look at this, I don't think the mount looks cool. I can't really tell you what I would like instead, but the mount doesn't look like a big rat. It looks like a Skaven that is big and then hunched over, but not like a rat ogre, but just a big Skaven. That might sound, it doesn't, do you get me? I want to see a big fluffy rat. Instead I've got a skinny rat. I don't know. I assume somebody out there knows what I'm saying there. Grey Seer. There was a lot of rumour that the Grey Seer wouldn't get redone. I don't really know why. The Grey Seer is actually still a really nice model in the Skaven range, but you have to buy a Shrieking Bell to get it. Cool that you get one now. Warlock Engineer. Actually, oddly, it doesn't do anything for me, which is a real shame. Rattling Warp Blaster. Now, basically, if you look at this model here, and you think that's really cool, you are going to like Clan Squire for Skaven, and like, amazing. You could just get loads of this, and Skaven will always do something for you. If you're looking at this and you're thinking, miss me with that, there's going to be a whole echelon of Skaven that you're not into. Rat Ogres. These guys finally get redone, right? They're looking great. I really like them all. Very cool. They're going to look really good alongside Storm Fiends. It was shown on the above pictures as well, but I really like that they're having like Warpstone embedded in them, because that's going to look really good in my 2-second and done painting scheme, which is that, 2-tone spray. It's going to look... I'm going to get smashed that box out in about 5 seconds. The Skaven side, at least. So that's going to look great. The Warp Lock Jezzails. So this is a very faithful recreation of the original Warp Lock Jezzails. Just straight updated. Haven't changed anything, practically. Apart from, I assume they'll be a bit bigger. So if you liked the originals, you're going to love these. Then we have Clan Rats. Now... here's a question for you guys, actually. I'm genuinely curious. Do you think these guys are on 28s or 25s? If those are 25s, these clan rats are really small, but maybe clan rats are really small. So I think these might actually be 28s. Please tell me and link me to proof, because I need to pre-order some bases. Some like scenic bases for my now that we have all of the contents revealed, I want to pre-order scenic bases for this game. But if they're 28s and I order 25s, I'm screwed. There you go. Cool. That's pretty much it. Oh no, there's more. Sorry. Right. We also get 2 Spearhead detachments in here. This is where you really use the terrain. Cool, nice. You might think, but only 2 walls? Why? That's for the next video. You get everything you need to play in this, except for dice. Just throwing that out there. So you also get a measurement stick, a 3-inch and a 6-inch. Why no dice? I don't know. Fire and Jade is the name of our first Spearhead, which implies that we are going to get more Spearheads, and presumably that will give us different objective layouts, also in different realms, that's the word. We're starting off with Akshi and Gur, I think. So that's cool. And hopefully all of them will also come with different terrains. So as over the next 3 years, presumably they do 1 a year. That's the kind of thing they do. We'll also get new, not just new boards, but also new terrain, which will be awesome. Because I like terrain. I like fancy terrain. There you go. I don't have enough. We get the core book. We also get the General's Handbook. Nice. That's for playing Big Sigmar. Oh, interestingly, Fire and Jade, in that book there, is also the full core rules as well. And then the specific rules for Spearhead. So if you just want Spearhead, presumably they are going to release Fire and Jade as its own thing later. You can just get that. You don't need to get this massive core rules book and the General's Handbook. You could just get Fire and Jade, which will come as a pack as this double-sided board and terrain and their own cards. And there you go. A Skaventide book. I will not read that. Thank you. There you go. Very quickly, jumping over to Spearhead here, just so you can see these a little bit closer up. I watched the full Celebrity Spearhead match. It looked fun. There you go. This book looks nice. Cool. I actually really like what they've done with the battle tactic cards here, to the point that I kind of wish they were in the full-scale game. I totally understand why they're not, but they actually seem to be really quite fun. Yeah. Comparing it to 40k, comparing the 40k Leviathan deck to this seems infinitely better. That's all I'll say. And then also, just very quickly, the core rulebook, because it has pretty pictures and a new way here of seeing how the realms look. Now, why do I point out how the realms look? Because it's Chamon, not Gur, sorry, Action Chamon, I guess it must have been for Fire and Jade. One of the issues with Age of Sigmar world building is they went a bit mad, right? Like, really, they went too far. And they had no grounding. Now, I'm into high fantasy. I can get behind pretty much anything. But they just missed the mark. And they gave no grounding, no realism. And they just kind of said, hey, like, look at all this weird stuff. And it's like, okay, but can we get like a viewpoint character? And they're like, yeah, these guys that like die and then come back to life. And there are no effects. There were no ill effects ever. That's kind of how the lore began. I was like, okay, well, where are they fighting? You know, like, give me the world building, not just the character building. It's like, oh, man, let me tell you. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Right, so literally nothing at all to connect with is what you're telling me in this universe you've just created. And it's like, yeah, that's right. So it's interesting that they're trying to kind of give us another way of viewing it, which is nice that they've done that. Is this going to be it? I don't think so. This still seems a bit odd. And I think that perhaps there's... The concept that they have is very high fantasy, and the way that you then try to illustrate and ground high fantasy, you know, it's a challenge. I don't know if they're quite there yet. But this is a cool picture, and, you know, it's all about how they flesh out in the core book itself. Which, very minor final note, the 3-year release cycle is insane and genuinely not good for their game systems. You know, I was just listening to Peachy doing an interview recently, and he kind of mentioned, like, as GW has begun to release more and more often, they are just straight up told from the higher ups, and we know this if you've read like 2 editions of books, just copy paste as much as you can from the previous one, add in like 1 or 2 bits that is new, but copy paste, that's fine. And it's like, that's a bit crap, isn't it? You know, I understand that you always need to give a grounding and a foundation, and why change what works, but if everything is just straight up, yeah, this, if you read this 3 years ago, you remember it. You literally don't need to reread. And that's kind of lame. I'm hoping that the core book has a lot of new stuff in there. And the benefit of Sigmar over 40k is that you can actually progress a timeline. So you can say, like, oh yeah, you know, it's all true. We don't need to retcon everything. How everything was when Age of Sigmar first released is still true. But we've progressed 1,000 years, and now this is true. And that's actually a real benefit. That's kind of where 40k cucks itself pretty hard. It has to retcon everything if it wants to make any change, and change is good generally. So it has to change what came before, because you could never go past the 41st millennium. But in a progressing narrative, you can say, yeah, that was true, and now this is true, which is generally a pretty good thing. So I do like where Sigmar can go. Are they going there yet, though? I don't know. Cool. Well, anyway, this has been fun. I'm actually very excited to play Age of Sigmar 4. I've already got a Slave to Darkness army. I've already got... No, that's it. That's all I've got. Oh, man, I'm slacking. I apologise. Clearly, I need to buy more stuff. But it looks like this is going to release in July, I think is the rumour, basically. So, fingers crossed. And then I'll have Stormcast, Skaven, and Slaves to Darkness. That'd be sweet. Are you interested in Age of Sigmar 4? If so, why? Have you played 3rd, and now you're just like, great, I'm enjoying the hype train into 4th. This is sweet AF, as foretold. Or are you kind of like me, and like maybe you've dabbled, but you haven't really been playing 3, but suddenly 4's coming and you're kind of into it. If so, tell me why. Because I kind of don't know why I'm into it. As I've said before in other videos, I'm just enjoying the hype train. I'm just like, you know what? Let's enjoy it while I enjoy it. And if I play it and I hate it, I'll just stop talking about it. And I'll sell my armies. That's fine. But I mean, 160 quid for all of that? I know I'll keep the terrain. The books look great anyway. If I sell off the armies, I sell off the armies. At least I think the Stormcast look amazing. I think in the studio scheme, the Skaven, a little bit dingy, not really my vibe. But the good news is that you've made it to the end of the video. I'd like to give you a big triple hello. Wow, wasn't that incredibly wholesome? Yes, it was, and that's just for you. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Stay hydrated, unlike me, for this entire 24 minutes of recording a video. I have a very sore throat, as I am sick. Goodbye.